Yo, my peoples, what's up? My name is Jason. Thank you so much for stopping by for this latest Dice Tower review. Today, I'm going to take a look at Veilwraith, a Veil Odyssey game. This one is the latest from Tristan Hall, Hall Nothing Productions, previously the publisher of Gloom of Killforth, in a similar vein, in a similar world. This one is a solitaire-only card game. You can play with multiple players, but you need multiple sets in order to combine them. It feels like a classic card-based solitaire game where you're going to be making decisions about how to progress through this post-apocalyptic landscape, but with some graduated gamer buttons and decisions to make. So let me go ahead and show you how it plays, and I'll tell you what I think. Without further ado, let's go to the videotape. Welcome to the world of Veilwraith. Your eyes do not deceive you. Please do not adjust the color settings on your camera. Letting you know right here with my hand that you are in color and that it is the game that is in total black and white. The motif is that an apocalypse has happened called the Rending, and now everything is dead and we are all spirits. And you are trying to get out of the spirit land and recover some semblance of life, but you have to go through the deathly hollows in order to get there. This is your Veilwraith. The Veilwraith is going to be progressing through a world that is represented by this deck. Here, the Veilwraith is going to have 3 actions available to them: explore, fight, and influence. That is how they're going to deal with the threats that come out of the enemy deck. And they're also going to have a supplemental deck of cards. These cards basically interact for the most part with these core actions. The core actions are really what you're going to need to be able to get familiar with in order to play well at this game. So I just want to show you some of the art that is available on the player cards. As you can see, so like it has the 1 influence that will correspond with the 1 influence. Most of the cards do that, at least to start. So, yep, no expense spared when it comes to the production, at least the artistic production in a Hall of Nothing game. All right, so in order to set up this deck, which is the enemy deck, you are going to consult with the vignette card. There are 5 vignettes in the basic game. And what you are going to do is set up the deck for each individual mission, which is what a vignette is, depending on what this line of enemies says. So there's a lot of enemies that you get, and it will tell you which enemies and how many of which enemy to shuffle inside the deck. You'll also shuffle in a mini-boss. Later vignettes have more mini-bosses right there. We'll meet this particular Goblin King in just a minute. So operationalizing the game is actually quite simple. Some of the complexity is going to come in making the powers happen, playing well, getting good strategy, but actually just doing the turn-by-turn of Veilwraith is fairly simple. You're going to be pulling from a enemy card, you're going to pull a card of personal resource, and then you're going to do your thing. Every round, pull a card, do your thing. Pull a card, pull a card, do your thing. So then this is the beginning of the game, so I'll pull 1 card, and this would be the fighter. There would be some kind of effect whenever it says played. It would affect you in some way, and then it would just be there. And then as the game progresses, there will be more and more enemies that populate this threat row. You are going to pull a card, and you are going to just have that and consult that for your turn. Okay, so this is how you beat any enemy. They are going to either have a fight stat, a influence stat, or a explore stat. The threats tend to have one of these 2. Either you could hack them to bits, or you can talk them down, depending on what the card says. We will get to the explore action in just a second. So this one has 4 fight. I would consult my actions and see that I only have 2 fight over here because it is under this 2. If it was if it was set up like this, it would be we're 3 fight, but alas, that is not to be. So right now, because I have this as a resource and that is not going to buff my fight, I cannot beat the fighter. So I have a couple of options. What I want to do is set myself up so that next turn I could beat him. This is what I can do. So I am going to take this card and I'm going to use it for its other action, which is draw 1 memory. In order to use an action, good old exhausting, or whatever the game calls it. So you would turn the card 90 degrees, and then it would move down to the end. So because I did not use that to interact with the board, I would draw another card. In this particular case, this is a little bit of a healing card. We'll get to that in just a second, or at least a defense card. Now I have this card over here, and I can do the second potential thing on my turn, which is tilt it. I would not tilt it all the way, but then I would be able to power it up with a +1 token. Maximum 5 of these things belong on particular tokens. So now that would be the end of my turn. It would damage me for 1. And every Veilwraith has 20 points. If you go down to 0, you lose. So then I will go down to 1. And that is an entire turn of Veilwraith. I'll move on to the next action. Oh, check that out. Here is an Enforcer. The Enforcer can be talked to. And a little bit of a lower threshold. I'm going to put him that way. Pull a card. And now I can take care of this this fighter. So then I have the 3 plus this token. I would discard a token. I would use this, move that down, and kill the fighter. So as you can see, there's a rhythm to it. You want to be able to set yourself up so that you have the right powers at the maximum spot, or you have power-ups in the key areas in order to deal with the flow of enemies that comes out. That is the core of how to play well in Veilwraith, get that rhythm going. Eventually, these cards will come out. These are very, very important cards. These are the cards that use the Explore action. They are the keys. So when you conquer a key, you will actually set it aside. They are allies, so to speak, and they will give you some powers over there that are extra. And collecting 5 of these is the victory condition. They're shuffled throughout the deck pandemic style, so they're spaced out. So you're not going to just get them all in a row, usually. Once you get all 5 keys, then the portal comes out, and this is the win condition. Once you move through the portal, and this corresponds with the vignette. So then in the first scenario, you would have to spend 3 influence in order to be able to move through the portal. Future vignettes will make it a little bit harder, 4, 5, 6, 7. As you can see, it's pretty hard to get 7, but if you use your resources well, then you shouldn't have too much of a problem. This card here is the Archfiend. If you don't make it through the deck in time, the Archfiend gets shuffled in, and if you see it, you are destroyed, aka you lose. Once the scenario ends, generally you'll be allowed to pull from the stack of upgrade cards and replace one of your cards. So you're always going to have 20 cards, but you'll be able to replace one of these cards. You see they're a little bit stronger. Again, more beautiful art over there, but a little bit more text because they're more involved. And eventually you'll be able to get these really, really powerful cards. Memory of Murder near the end as you progress through the multiple waves of the campaign. But wait, before I go on to more description, the Goblin King piped up and said, "Talk about me! No, I am the main threat." These are mini bosses. Generally, when you see a regular enemy, they have 1 stat. Even if they have multiple stats listed, you only need to beat them one way. Not so with these bosses. These asterisks mean you have to hit both of the stat in order to be able to take care of it. So this is where the strategy becomes really important. You want to be able to kind of time when they come out and set yourself up so that you can knock these both out, or else they will do 2 damage to you per every turn they persist, which is basically death. There's a lot of death available in Veilwraith. Want to show you, before I went back to the top, the difference between the base game and the expansion. These are the 5 vignettes that you're going to get with the basic game. The Absolution expansion will come with 6 through 20. Look at all these extra vignettes that you are going to get, and a whole new cast of characters. So in order to build the deck, you're going to take from the threats and the foes. You're going to get a couple more threats. The threats, those are okay. Generally not too much exciting stuff there because they are the small ones. But then you get to the foes, which are the beings that have to be defeated twice, so to speak. And there is a ton of variety, a ton of effects. And as usual, some more gnarly art. Hey, look at that. You look familiar. I recognize you from the front of the box. Speaking of the box, this is the box for Veilwraith. You see, for a small card game, it's kind of a big box, but I did not know this. You can actually fit the Absolution box, the expansion, just the whole box right in here. But before I figured that out, I threw that box away. Oops. Most of the cards in this game are going to fit in the just basically just a 2/3 of this row, and then this would be for tokens and all that other stuff. So that was Veilwraith at the table. Let's talk about thematic ambiance first. It's not a very thematic game in the sense of like, I'd never felt like a walker, walking through an area. And it's a card game. So, I have my little area and, I'm theoretically exploring and interacting. And I did appreciate the effort to say, okay, you have this type of enemy, you're going to interact with them. You have this type of enemy, you're going to fight them. And you can, I guess, read that into the cards, but at the end of the day, it's one stat for this, one stat for that. In terms of, like that integration, that immersion into the game. However, the game is evocative and the game does paint a picture. And it does so mostly through its artistic motif. This is one of the only games you're ever going to see with a completely black and white motif. And, full disclosure, I interact with Tristan Hall from time to time on his Facebook group in other areas. He knows. He has heard it ever since the first Kickstarter of, taking an artistic risk with the product that has all black and white, kind of looks like a death metal album cover or something like that. He dug it. It's part of artistic vision. It folds into the larger story he's telling with his world over multiple games. This is kind of a post-apocalyptic scenario, and everything is the color's been leached out of the world, and you're walking in the land of ghosts and spirits and all that kind of thing. Your mileage may vary with that one. You're going to have to determine for yourself whether that's an easy thing for you to get into or not. For me, I'm very pedagogical with the way I approach games. My big concern was that the game would be a little bit harder to get into because I use color in order to know what I'm doing in certain games. So like if I get a red card with these types of games, fire. If I get a blue card, some kind of healing or water spell or whatever it is. And I find that colors kind of match up and help me kind of get into a game. The symbology here is so simple. There's really only 3 symbols that you need to know. And then, just positional stuff that happens. It's such a low overhead experience on the player side that I actually did not have a problem getting into it, learning it. By the time I finished my first play, I'm like, all right, I got this, and I'm ready to shuffle up and go. That's cool. Sometimes you get these kind of like wrinkly, complicated games where it's like it takes you through 2 or 3 turns before you can really play without the rule book. I got this one after one, so kudos to that. So ambiance wise, entry wise, it wasn't bad for me. It's up to you whether you like that motif of the black and white. Strategically, this game is a little bit of a step up above what you may be useful in this space. I'm talking a Friday or an Onirim or more recently an Unbroken. In those games, you tended to be able to shuffle up and go. And you just know the general rules of what you do, and you kind of like, just kind of move there, but there's no real prep. Here, you gotta prep. This game is very hard. If you look at the Facebook group or the BGG page, you'll have constant threads of people saying, oh my goodness, I finally won my second mission, or I finally, I didn't win, I'm stuck on mission 3, I don't really know what to do, I don't want to go down to easy mode, so Tristan, please tell me what to do. And Tristan will chime in and say, okay, this and this, noticing that he's not giving like away like the farm in terms of strategy, wants people to discover it on their own. So it's hard. This is a really hard game. And the key lies in just not just shuffling and going. Like, you have to know the powers shuffled in. There are the vignettes reconstruct that enemy deck every single time, and you have to intimately know what's in that deck and be kind of prepare your board so that when the thing comes out, you're ready for it. If you shuffle in something that has a lot of fight, make sure your fight is stocked up. If you have enemies that take away fight tokens, then don't put a lot of fight tokens on. Keep your stuff reserved. Have a general sense for when the mini bosses are coming out, and make sure you have tokens piled up so that you can, when that mini boss comes out, you can take it out right away and go. There is a rhythm that you learn through the game. It's not just like an academic exercise, it's a rhythm thing. and that felt cool. I admit that I was pretty frustrated, kind of going through it and learning it and figuring out learning how to beat it, learning the strategy, I should say. Learning the game was fine. Learning the strategy was a little bit frustrating. Once I got it, I was able to kind of like get into a rhythm and, move through, once you figure it out, okay, move 3, learn the deck for Vision 4, beat Vision 4, learn the deck for Mission 5, beat Vision 5. That process is pretty cool. The slow learning that this game invites you towards. Once you get to Mission 5, are you going to want to play again, or are you ready for that expansion? For me, I kind of just wanted to keep going and get the second expansion, which is the vignettes 6 through 20. Doesn't add any new rules, but it expands the world and changes up the cards. It's more involved, and I find that as I was getting into that, I was kind of struggling a little bit more, which is good. You want that for a solitaire game. But that is to say that, is there enough game for just the 5 missions here? Will you be satisfied? Well, it depends on how well you get into that rhythm and how much you enjoy that rhythm. What I will say, this is the type of game that you either into that rhythm or you're not. If you're into the rhythm, fine. Or if you're into the motif, fine. You have a good time with it. If you find that you are just kind of like seeing the gears turn and it's just numbers, symbol, this symbol, this, and this plus this is this. This could become a math exercise for you. You lose that sense of immersion or that sense of flow into what the game is trying to do. Once you lose that, it's hard to get it back. And if this is, if you feel like this is going to be that type of game where it's just a mechanical math exercise, probably not for you. But if you find that rhythm and you find it interesting, combined with the motif, it's actually a pretty solid game. So I am going to go with seal of approval for me, 7.5 out of 10. Little bit of a leg up. I really enjoyed the extra layer of challenge. I really enjoyed having a game where I couldn't just get away with shuffling and dealing. I have that. I have plenty of that. This one gave me that just a little bit more in terms of having a plan and having to find the rhythm to beat every single individual scenario. The scenarios are just a little bit different. You can't just like use the same strategy every single time. I will recommend, though, that to get the Absolution expansion with the vignettes of 6 through 20. I think 1 to 5 feels a little bit like that's kind of a demo of the game, and the Absolution kind of completes it and makes it a total game. So the 7.5 is going to be with the Absolution expansion, but should be able to get those two products together fairly well. They were printed at the same time. All right, so that was another review for the Dice Tower. This is Jason reminding you, if you can change your mind, you can change the world. So until next time, later, everybody.